Movies with my best friend. Hail and well met, traveler. Welcome to Video Scrolls with my best friend Phil. I'm Phil Kessel, joined by my two best friends, my adventuring party, if you will. We've got Will. I feel like you'd be a sorcerer.
All right,
Jonas.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I feel like you have to read a lot and like go to school
Nope.
to be a sorcerer.
Not at all. Wizard, yes. Sorcerer, no.
Oh, I guess I don't know the difference.
So we can get into it. Oh boy.
And we shouldn't.
Oh, okay. So I'm also joined by Craig.
Yeah.
What would you be? I want to say a human fighter.
Thanks. The most generic.
No, I feel like I'm getting monk vibes.
Ooh.
Yeah.
He's very pious, so that makes sense.
But it's more like his chill nature.
Yes.
I'm not sure I know what the word pious means. I'm not sure why I used it.
And his punching. He punches a lot.
Yeah.
It's true.
But I'm also a healer, right?
Well, monks actually are not good at healing. To be honest, depending on who you ask, they're not actually very good at D&D.
Well, sounds
but
about right.
They're cool. They're cool. They have great flavor.
I have great flavor. Good to know.
That's what I'm saying.
I have no substance.
Yeah, but it's great flavor. You're the broth in the soup of our podcast.
You mean the part that everyone throws out at the end?
No, the part that everyone slurps at the end.
Okay.
Phil, what are you then? All right, so I'm a sorcerer, which apparently isn't a wizard, and Craig is a monk.
Yeah,
and you would be a. Wait, I'll tell you.
Yeah, you tell me.
You would be. Let's see. I don't know any of them, so I'm just gonna make one up. You would be a merchant, like one of the guys who's on the side of the road, like selling you stuff.
So not a player character in the game.
No, you'd be an NPC on the side of the road, and you'd be like, "Do you have any?" And I looked through your inventory, and I'm like, "All of this is terrible." And you're like, "I know, I don't know what to do about it." And then you just,
I know, I'm doing my best.
Yeah.
Please. What is the paladin?
Paladins are simultaneously the best and the worst, and we'll get into it later.
Will we?
I mean, I'm gonna bring it up. I'm gonna talk about it.
Well, one of the characters is a paladin, so.
Paladins are like, it's a holy knight. Unfortunately, the best possible representation of a paladin I've ever seen is from the movie that we're about to review.
Yeah.
So giving you another one might not be helpful.
Cecil from Final Fantasy IV, he goes from being a Dark Knight to a paladin. Any video game people? Nope, just me.
Nope.
Okay.
I went from an oath breaker to an oath of, I don't know his deal. There's multiple oaths. There's classes and then there's subclasses. It gets freaking squirrely to explain. It's drinking from a fire hose. You guys are going to hate every minute of me talking about Dungeons and Dragons today.
That's fine. I needed a nap.
Perfect. So, Craig.
Yeah.
Before we dive so deep, far too deep into Dungeons and Dragons, and before we get to a point where I have convinced or maybe annoyed you two into playing some sort of tabletop RPG with me eventually, I would like you to reach your hand into your brain and pull something out of your brain wallet. Because it's time to duel. Wait, no, that's not right.
All right, that's right. It's time for the segment where we reach deep into our best friend's pants and whip out some recommendations. It's What's in Your Wallet? I have to figure out a way to say that.
Yeah.
What's in your wallet?
What's in your wallet? Wait, that's way too much like the actual...
What's in your wallet?
What do you possess in your money clip?
Well, that's just changing the name of it, though.
Ah, shoot, you're right. That doesn't work, does it?
All right, Craig, you're up.
All right. My pick for today is a movie called After Sun. Have you guys heard of this movie at all?
Nope. How do you spell?
No, I was gonna
sun?
try and make a joke about like aloe, but I couldn't think of one.
Yeah.
So now you get the story of me not being able to think of a joke. Anyways,
okay.
Almost as good as a joke.
Nearly as good as one of my jokes.
On par.
Yes. So After Sun, it's an A24 movie, so you kind of get the idea without even me saying anything about it.
I've already seen it.
Yes, it's like you've already seen it.
Yes.
So it
Pastel colors, visual symmetry.
Mhm.
Wait, that's not right.
That's no. No, it's just it's a pretty simple movie. It's about this girl and her dad going on a vacation. They're from the UK and they're at a resort in Turkey, where all the people there are from, it seems, the UK. It's all white people there. It takes place in the late 90s, so you get flashes of her at current times, but it's mostly about her reconciling her relationship with her father. Her parents got divorced, and the story's not a lot of tell. It's mostly show, and it's a pretty chill movie. It's just them on vacation having these conversations, and it does, at least for me, there are definitely some parts that reminded me of going on vacation with your family and the kind of people that you'd meet in situations you'd find yourself in. So I won't say too much more about it because it's definitely gets into all the emotions, but very, very good. Yeah, definitely check it out.
Cool.
Nice. I like it.
Philip, what have you been sitting on and sweating in?
Well, I tell you what, it was mid 80s today, so I guess the answer is any chair that I was in.
Yeah.
The house is not mid 80s, but I will say we don't have AC at the moment. Or at all. There's no AC. We can put it in. We just have to get it installed. Anyways, none of this is interesting. Anyways, so Jack and I have started watching The Big Door Prize on Apple TV. It's got Chris O'Dowd, and then I didn't recognize anyone else in it except for there is a kid that I follow on Instagram in it, who would just post really, really weird little videos, where like one of them was like, he's sitting in a car with his friend and he's like, he's visibly excited and his friend is not, and he's like, oh, we're in my car, we're about to go visit my friend's lover my friend's lover passed something, and he's like, my loved one passed away. And then the kid's like, oh. And I don't know. I'm explaining it horribly. Scratch that entire thing. He's funny. He's a funny kid. He's on Instagram. Anyways, he's in the show and he plays a big part. The show is this like small town where in the grocery store, randomly one day there just appears a machine that will supposedly tell you your life's purpose. And so everyone in the town starts kind of freaking out about this, and they all take the test, and things start coming true, or they start like changing their, like the principal of the school always wanted to ride a motorcycle, and then what she gets on her card is like motorcycle rider lady. And so she buys a motorcycle and she loves it. And everyone's kind of, for the first few episodes of the show, we're only like 4 or 5 episodes in, but the first few episodes, it's mostly good stuff that people have gotten, because it's all the people that are really excited. Our main character, Chris O'Dowd's character, doesn't want to go do it. He's fighting against it because he's happy. And he doesn't want to get some like random thing that would make him feel like his life was less than. Then he eventually does it, and he gets on his card the exact thing he already is, which is a teacher / whistler. Which he's not like employed as a whistler, he just whistles. And then like his dad gets male model, and his mom gets something I forget, and so they split up in like episode 2, and it's like the whole thing is it's like a really kind of dark comedy, which is like funny. If you take it lightly, it's a light, breezy show, but if you think about like anything that the show is presenting to you at all, it's a really heavy show. And it's just really good.
What'd you say it was called again?
The Big Door Prize.
Big Door Prize.
Yeah, I would definitely, I mean, obviously I'm recommending it on the show, but like I think you two would like it. Apple TV's got a couple of good shows. We're watching Shrinking as well with Jason Segel and Harrison Ford. I'm doing a double. I snuck this in. Yeah. You guys can't stop me. Also really good. Jason Segel plays a therapist that decides to just start telling his patients how he actually feels about what they're telling him. So like in the first episode, he's got this woman who's got this super husband, and he finally just cracks, and he's like, just leave him. Just pack all your stuff and leave him. He sucks. Like, you deserve better. He sucks. He's not going to fix himself. Get out of there. And so she does. And, like, he starts seeing success with this, but it's also, like, a really terrible way to... That's not what his job is supposed to be. And so, like, Harrison Ford is fighting him on what he's doing, and it's a whole thing. It's a really, really good show so far. And that one is also kind of light and breezy if you don't want to think harder. So like, it's funny.
That's Bill Lawrence, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, and he's the Scrubs guy. And I didn't know this, but I'm just seeing now he's Ted Lasso was his thing too.
Yeah.
So Bill Lawrence was like, Scrubs was such a huge... Like I found out what a showrunner was and who Bill Lawrence was, and I did a bunch of TV research because of Scrubs. Because I was like, I want to do TV. I want to do something like this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways.
So I'm gonna add on to your Apple TV Plus thing.
Man, they're hitting it out of the park right now for me.
Schmigadoon, I think I brought this up before. You don't like it?
I haven't watched it. I'm not a musicals guy, and I feel like I should be a musicals guy to watch that. I love the concept.
You don't have to be. You just have to... You can get, like, the general conceit. Like, the first season is all, like, older, the old style, like, 40s and 50s musicals, where it's, like, Oklahoma and The Music Man. And the second season is all...
You're in town?
No. Chicago, Cabaret.
Cats?
They haven't done Cats, but it's all like it's in a city and it's a lot darker, and it's really funny how they take on all that material. So it's definitely different. But the Keegan-Michael Key and Cecily Strong are very, very funny in it. So yeah, another great Apple TV sitcom, whatever you want to call it.
Nice. Cool. We are not being paid by Apple TV, but I mean,
if they want to,
could we please?
If they're interested,
they're not.
They might be.
Yeah. I'm the one who answers the emails, and so far I've not had to do that. In the 2 years I've never had to answer an email.
Maybe after this one.
Maybe.
I'm gonna make a fake email address. It's going to be stevejobs@apple@gmail.com.
Well, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Steve.apple.
There we go. Yeah.
That'll do it. That'll trick you.
All right, Will, what do you got?
I guess there's just one more. Yeah. Will, what's
So, well, I'm going to do something a little different this time around. So I sent you guys a package, both you guys packages the other day.
Yeah, this was weird as hell. Let me go grab it.
Yeah, okay. Because I sent you guys. So right. Okay, so it's a PlayStation 1. Yeah. Oh, what? Apparently.
All right, I'm back.
Oh.
I had to open the door.
Oh, that was it. Yeah, Phil apparently has steel doors in his new house, and they're all very creaky.
Yeah.
No,
I never grease them.
So it's a PlayStation 1 with a copy of Monster Rancher alongside of it. So if you guys don't mind, if you could open up the PlayStation 1, plug it into your TVs, put Monster Rancher in there. So I'll just give you a second to do that. I'm going to do it too. Okay. All right. So so this
fucking noise.
Yeah, mine. And so if you guys don't mind, we're just gonna hit power on that. And here we go. 1, 2, 3.
Whoa.
Okay. Sorry. We just went into the video game world. So we're outside of a tavern. This is it's called as you can read here, it's Lord Williams JRPG Tavern. So we're gonna go inside.
I don't know if I want to go in. That seems scary.
Yeah, I don't know about this.
Yeah,
Will you hold
it's
my
okay.
hand?
Yeah. No. Actually, before we go in, we actually have to party up.
Oh, okay.
So you guys have to like go inside me. You know what I mean? Is that all right? It's either that or stand directly behind me and walk in step with me, but that felt harder.
Yeah.
So if you guys want, you can just like come on inside. All right, Craig.
Yeah.
All right, Craig first. Okay. Okay, and now Phil, you gotta. Okay, so now that they're inside me and they can't hear me, I'm gonna actually go through their inventory and see what they got. So let's see. Well, I'll do Phil's first. Okay. All right, some drumsticks, calendar with national parks and monsters and things. Boy, there's a lot of alcohol in here. Oh, and this is interesting. A Heartland High School marching band uniform. You probably really should have returned that. Let's see what Craig's got in his inventory. Honey baked ham. And that's it. Okay. Anyways, all right, I'm going to go into the tavern now. Okay, I'll sit down and all right, you guys, I'll let them out.
Whoa.
All right.
Did you touch my ham?
No, I don't know what gave you that idea. Let's sit down at the bar. So
why is it so slimy?
That's the slime.
Oh.
Yeah, see the slime? Yeah, he's got a lit's face. He's over there. Anyways, let's go up to the bar.
What's the bartender's name?
I don't know. It just says bartender when he's starting to speak.
Welcome, friends, to Lord Williams JRPG Tavern, where the jiggle physics are a must, all the cats talk an annoying high-pitched exposition, and the drinks are non-alcoholic because everyone is like 15 years old for some reason.
All right, thank you, sir. All right. So we're here. I wanted to bring you guys here so we could talk about a video game series that I really like called Monster Hunter, which Craig, I know you're familiar with. Phil, are you familiar with them?
Wait a minute. You brought us to Monster Rancher to talk about Monster Hunter.
Well, Monster Rancher is just how you get into, because in that you can go through the disc. You know,
okay.
You go through the disc, and that's how you get here. It's the portal to this world.
Okay.
If Brad Barr is listening to this podcast, he's getting this reference, and he alone is the only one. I'm doing this just for him. Anyways.
To answer your question, I am vaguely familiar with Monster Hunter. I think my favorite part is when you would put in a random CD in the middle of the game, and then you get
Monster
a different
Rancher.
monster.
That's Monster Rancher still.
Huh. Okay, well, I liked when you'd go to Brad's and you'd play it at Brad's and you could fight monsters with each other.
Yeah, okay. You're still doing Monster Rancher, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
I've only seen the first Monster Hunter played. I've never seen any of the others. It seems like a game I would be into. I just haven't.
Yeah. Well, so
it
is a confounding series because it's been around for a really long time, but it like...
Wait, you like a weird series?
I know, right?
That's strange.
So the most recent has been Rise on the Switch, but before that was Monster Hunter World, which was sort of Capcom's attempt to go like, hey, we've never cared about the Western audience. Let's try that. That was Lucy. She's down
Lucy!
here. Yeah, I don't know where she went. I mean, this is my Palamute, Lucy. She comes on quests with me. I get to ride on her back. So Monster Hunter is just like a super fun game because it's Dark Souls before Dark Souls, right? Because Dark Souls, the whole thing with that was like it's like timing based and like you can get wrecked really easily, and that's how Monster Hunter was. Like part of the game is like knowing the character animations. Because, like, so much of it, like, it is such a high barrier to entry. Because, like, the animations are infuriating. Like, one of the characters, like, you're fighting these giant monsters, and your character will drink a potion, and he'll, like, take, like, 10 seconds to chug it, and then he'll do, like, this, like, pump movement, and it takes, like, forever, and then he gets wrecked because he's in the middle of that, and then the potion doesn't work. So it's... Like, people, when it first showed up on the PlayStation 2, were like, this is awful. I hate this. But, like, that's kind of the point. The point is you have these, like, moves that it's like a fighting game and all bosses all the time. And there's no, like, and the core gameplay is you are a monster hunter and you go out to hunt monsters. And when you beat the monster, you carve up its body and you wear its skin as your clothes. And that's how you upgrade your armor and your character. It doesn't have traditional like leveling systems and stuff. You just get the armor better. And that gameplay loop, for whatever reason, is just like super fun for me. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I don't know. I really like it. And recently Craig bought it. My older brother got it, and we sort of squatted up. And we did a whole run with some other dude named Kevin who showed up. Nice. Was like 100 levels ahead of us, and we're like, wow, we're really good. And Craig was like, wow, this is a lot easier than I remember. I'm like, I'm pretty sure our buddy Kevin is really helping us out here.
Oh no.
Yeah. But yeah, those games are really fun. And I don't know. I don't have anything else to say other than if you're the type of person who likes weird Japanese video games, Monster Hunter Rise is the one you should check out.
It's the most Japanese thing ever.
Oh, yeah. So Craig had like just bought it and was like hadn't really played it yet. And we were like talking while he was playing it. And he's just like, this is the most Japanese thing I've ever seen. Because like at one point you like go get some food and the cats that feed you, because you're being fed by cats, sing like a whole song and like do a little dance, and every time we did a quest, Craig listened to the entire song each time.
It's like, I don't know, I can't even describe it. I was transfixed.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, they're fun.
Does it have like a yellow beach ball with like a tail?
Does what have that?
The Monster Hunter, does it have like a spokesman that's like a yellow?
Yeah, you're talking about Suezo. That's Monster Rancher again. Yeah.
Damn it! What is this game?
Wait, are you doing a bit right now or no?
Honestly, I'm so far in, I don't know. I'm not sure. Is the Monster Hunter movie?
Yeah.
Based on the game?
Yes. In the same way that like.
The Resident Evil movies are based on the game?
Yes.
Because it's the same guy, because... What is that guy?
Yeah, I don't know. The second I saw Mila Jovovich with 2 guns being chased by a Rathalos, I'm like, okay, so I'm never gonna watch this because it is nothing like the game. But yeah, fun stuff. Okay, we can go back. So we'll just hit eject on this PlayStation and. And we're back. All right, so thanks. Maybe we'll visit there again. Maybe we'll never do this again. Maybe this whole thing will be cut. Who knows?
It freaking better stay in.
But
some good bits here.
Speaking of weird RPG stuff, we watched a movie.
We did.
And the movie that we watched was Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves, which is a 2023 fantasy heist film directed by Jonathan Goldstein and John Francis Daly, who co-wrote the screenplay with Michael Gillip, from a story by Chris McKay. It's based on the tabletop role-playing game Dungeons and Dragons and is set in the Forgotten Realms campaign setting. That means nothing to me. Okay, it is starring Chris Pine.
So there's different campaign settings. Oh, you don't want me to do that.
No.
Okay.
It is starring Chris Pine, Michelle Rodriguez, Regé-Jean Page, Justice Smith, Sophia Lillis, and Hugh Grant. 134 minutes long, $150 million budget. It has so far made $125 million at the box office. I'm hoping that'll change because this movie is great and they need to be rewarded for it. Can you guys guess how this did on Rotten Tomatoes?
I think it's 94%.
Phil, what do you think?
Really? Oh, I mean, I would hope it would be really high, but I just assumed it'd be... No, I'm going to go 94. I'm going to tie with Craig. We're going to be best friends on this one.
All right, so you guys overshot it a bit.
Is it 69?
It is 90.
Oh, okay. 90, okay.
Well, that's still...
But it is 94 on the audience rating, so you guys are just the same as everyone else.
Oh, were you asking critics? I definitely was giving you audience. I would have known critics was 90.
I changed the rules just this one time without saying it, even though we've done it the one way.
That seems like you. That's a real sorcerer thing to do.
I don't know why I'm insulted.
Are you guys familiar with John Francis Daly?
Sweets, right? From Bones?
Yeah, and the kid from
Freaks and Geeks.
Freaks and Geeks, yeah. Does anyone under 70 watch Bones? I think it was just me and...
It was just you.
Yeah,
okay.
I watched it up until
it got bad.
Until Zach was a serial killer's apprentice.
Okay, yeah. So
spoiler alert.
So that would be season 2 of, I want to say 40.
Oh, I definitely watched more than that then.
I think Veronica watched it because I remember there was an episode where this person gets put in a vat of chocolate and turns into a gooey skeleton.
I mean, that is literally every... Caitlin, this is like a guilty pleasure show for Caitlin, and I enjoyed watching it. I never got into it, but I know a lot about it because it was on a lot. And then we would sit down. We're millennials, so we eat in front of the television, and we'd always sit down with food, and the first thing is a gloopy human soup slopping out of the side of a car or something, and I'm just like, well, guess I'm not eating chili today.
They did a really funny trailer, sort of trailer, as a callback to Freaks and Geeks because they play D&D on there, and it's the grown-up versions of the 3 geeks playing D&D.
Really?
Yeah, it's really funny. I think it's only on Twitter or something like that. You have to go to D&D, the actual movie website thing.
Was James Franco in there?
No.
Well, he wasn't part of that.
I wouldn't think so. But he was in the last 2 episodes.
The last 2 episodes of what?
Freaks and Geeks. He played with them
at
the end.
Oh, he did. Yeah, that's true.
Oh.
I
forgot
loved
about
it,
that.
if I remember correctly.
Yeah. So The other movie that he directed that I like a lot is called Game Night. Did you guys see that one?
Yes.
It's
oh my
so
gosh.
good. Like surprisingly
shoot.
good.
Who's the Jesse Plemons?
Jesse Plemons
Is fucking so good at that.
It's I forget the exact line, but he's like, "How could that be profitable for Frito-Lay?" He's like, "Oh, we bought all these chips, so it was 3 for $1." He's like, "How could that be profitable for Frito-Lay?" And he's so weird.
Yeah, I would rewatch that. That was a really, really funny movie. I guess like I didn't realize he had moved into writing and directing until all of a sudden he had written a bunch of movies.
Yeah,
and directed.
I'm looking at it right now, and I had no idea he had done half of these things that he had.
He wrote Spider-Man: Homecoming. The team that did this movie wrote Spider-Man: Homecoming.
Yep.
Wow.
And also he did a movie called Horrible Bosses, which I'm sure is terrible, but I saw in theaters.
Yeah.
It was all right.
At the time it came out, I'm sure it was absolutely hilarious.
Yeah.
I don't know that movie has aged super well.
No. No, I wouldn't think so. Anyways.
He is credited on the story for the Flash movie that's coming out that just seems unfortunate to exist.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Did you guys know that this is the 4th Dungeons and Dragons movie?
No.
I have not seen any of the other ones.
I have not either. Only one other theatrically released, and that was in 2000.
The Jeremy Irons one.
Yeah.
That is supposed to be
awful.
Hot garbage. Yeah. Just absolutely terrible.
Like Aragon levels garbage.
And I kind of want to watch it.
Yeah.
Maybe that's my next pick.
So, Phil, you picked this movie.
Hold up. Whoa. Technically, Jack told me to have us do this movie.
Okay. Phil, it was your turn to pick movies. Why did this movie get picked? How's that? Is that better?
Yeah, no, that works.
I don't do notes,
so
okay?
I do rules as written, which is like a tabletop RPG term. So I do rules as written. So the rule was written that I'm not choosing any of my movies. So if I had chosen this movie, that would be a bad thing. I would have gone back on what I said.
Right.
The second movie in, and that's a little embarrassing. No, so I was very very back and forth on whether I actually wanted to see this movie up until honestly like the week maybe or like 2 weeks before we went to see it, like a week before I told you guys that was the movie. I love D&D. I've been playing D&D now for like I don't know 3-4 years now, which is not as long as many people, but that's still a considerably long amount of time to be playing a game. So I love it. I think it's super fun. I think it both does and does not lend itself to be a movie. But I really wanted to see this movie once it came out that it was not bad. So it got released and I was still very on the fence, but I kept seeing on Reddit that like D&D people were into the movie, and it sounded like through the process of making this movie, Hasbro, who now owns, and I think at the point this movie started getting made, owned Wizards of the Coast, which is like the main governing body of Dungeons and Dragons. Mm-hmm. And I really just thought it was going to be a huge cash grab and a terrible, terrible movie and just like a merchandise thing trying to squeeze every bit of money out of the D&D craze that's going on. They also had pulled some weird shit with like gaming licenses for people who are making podcasts that use the rules of D&D, and what they were proposing would have basically ruined modern tabletop gaming. Not to be totally dramatic, but like probably would have completely ruined it or nearly ruined it. They pulled back from that, and they were not actually a huge part of this movie from what I've read. So then I got excited. I was like, maybe this could be just like a fun romp. And it was.
Cool.
So I know neither of you guys have played D&D, so I am really interested to hear both of your thoughts before my thoughts.
Okay.
I know we kind of already heard Will a little bit, and I just said that I thought it was good and great and wonderful. It was a great romp. So let's start with Craig the Monk Norland.
I've never played D&D, so every time I saw any reference to D&D, I got really angry and I threatened to walk out of the theater. Will had to keep holding me back. So that was my
just
experience.
an excuse to hold Will's hand, though?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Okay.
I was fine with it.
I get it.
So, no, Will and I, as usual, went to the movie and held hands the whole time.
Yeah.
Sat in the same seat.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Craig sat on my lap before everyone assumes the other way around.
I was actually assuming you just egalitarianly split the seat and you both were like half on an armrest and it was really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I mean, the theater was empty. We just chose to do that.
Yeah.
Was it empty? No, it wasn't. There were like... Yeah,
there were some people there.
Yeah.
We go on unpopular days, so...
Yeah.
No, there are some references that I understood, but didn't know they were from D&D originally. The one Will and I have talked about was Baldur's Gate. I'm like, okay, I know that's a thing.
Yeah, that was when I heard him say that. I learned that Baldur's Gate was a D&D thing because I was like, I know what that is. I had no idea. It did feel sort of weird. It felt as if he had just said like, well, and then we're gonna stop by the Mushroom Kingdom or something. You know? Yeah, and I was just like, what is he talking about?
Hold on, is this a crossover episode?
Yeah.
So, and then it had the mimic that, like the chest. I think that's what they're called.
Yeah.
And the cube, the gelatinous cube thing.
Right.
Yeah.
So there are some things that I understood the references for, so I wasn't completely lost with that. But I think this is one of those movies where you don't have to know anything about D&D to have a good time. Like, my dad would probably love this movie, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, and I was the same way. I because I played a ton of RPGs and JRPGs, like, you know, and most of those games were just basically D&D nerds' attempts to automate, some of the math and dice rolls into it, and put it. You know, Final Fantasy has stolen so much from, like, those weird panther things with the tentacle tails. Like, those are in every single Final Fantasy game.
Beast.
What's they called?
Displacer Beast.
Yeah, those are like in all the Final Fantasy games, like the gelatinous cube, the mimic, all that stuff is in, Final Fantasy. So I like recognized all that, but yeah, and I agree with Craig. It did not matter that I did not know what oh my gosh, what is it? An owlbear is. You know what I mean? Because it was still like
the coolest fucking creature on the planet.
Yeah, and it was still fun to like see. But no, after the movie was over, I said to Craig, I was like, I'm pretty sure this was a perfect film. And I don't mean like this movie was like perfect in every way or whatever. It's just like just a perfect, well-made movie, that like, so if fantasy isn't your thing, like you're probably not going to like this movie, but like, we were just talking, like, all the characters has a very emotional story. The stakes are high, but not without being too high. It's like you get a good taste of this world. All the characters are pretty well defined and get their own sort of moments to shine. There's like good callbacks. And a lot of times with movies like this, you get to the third act and you start to get this feeling that something happened. And this is especially not to constantly be the person who's shitting on DC movies, but that is my brand. Like, this is usually when in the DC movies where I'm like, okay, they literally ran out of money because the movie is just like ending and like we didn't resolve half the things we were supposed to, right? So I was a little worried that was going to happen with this movie.
Yeah.
But that did not happen. That did not happen in this movie. So it was like good to see. I don't know. It was just really good. It was a really well-made movie, and I enjoyed the hell out of it. So I really liked it.
I'm so glad to hear that you both liked this movie.
Well, and the other thing that I really enjoyed about it, and then someone else can talk, is like I cannot remember the last time I saw a fantasy movie that wasn't afraid of being a fantasy movie. Like there has been ever since like Lord of the Rings. And like Lord of the Rings is great, right? But it's high fantasy, and it's always like all of these things are like sort of like, and the ring came down. It's like so, and like all the powers are explained.
And Josiah begat Webelusa.
Yeah, right. It's very biblical.
Well, that's the Bible.
Yeah, that is true. Well, J.R.R. Tolkien basically was like, I want to write the Bible. Well, he was
elves.
He was a language nerd, so like all of his Lord of the Rings is just him playing around with language,
poems and songs.
Yeah, poems and songs, and like, but that sort of set the precedence for like, like fantasy stuff to not just be like there was always like an explanation for magic, or like in Game of Thrones where it's like, well, it's sort of it's a fantasy thing, sure, but it's more of a it's a political drama mixed in. There's barely any magic until the end when there's a bunch, and so it's just nice to see somebody who like turns into a rat and like runs around, and nobody's like, how does that magic work? Well, you see, Ethereum gave him the Glorgonsporg, which put inside the Morgenfargen. I mean, there is that there is a lot of it where like,
yeah.
One of the characters will be like, well, he likes a singing, he's a flinging, and Freegan's like a friggin'. And I'm like, what? Go back. Who's a what? Like, yeah. So it was a little confusing with all the different names, because they don't like, it's not like they're like shying away from it either. You know what I mean? Which is a good thing.
It's wild how much they don't hold your hand for this movie.
Yeah.
Like they really don't water that much down.
Yeah. It to me, I was like, oh, this is how everyone else feels when they're watching like a Phase 4 Marvel movie, where they're just sort of like everyone's talking about somebody else, and you know what I mean? Like referencing things. And whereas like, you can follow the whole movie, but there are moments where the characters will be like, well, he's back in Forgengorgen, and somebody next to you will go like, and you're like, what did that mean? What was that part?
What was that word?
Yeah. But it was few and far enough between, and it was, enough of it was just like, we want the thing, the guy's got the thing, we need the thing. I was like, I follow that part, I'm here for that.
It was less confounding the plot of the movie and more just like little Easter eggs for people who do know the setting, which I will say I've been playing for a few years. I've been playing a homebrew campaign that Steve has made everything up for. Like the classes and the races and everything is all still the same, and like the magic's still the same. The bad guys, like the monsters, are still generally the same, but like the setting isn't the same. But I've listened to podcasts that do non-homebrewed stuff, so like I knew many of the locations they talked about, and I knew some of the names that they dropped. But I also, like, there were things that I was like, that sounds familiar, but I don't quite know what that means.
I didn't even realize that existed. Like, I thought all Dungeons & Dragons games was homebrew version, where it was just like, everyone, like, here are the different monsters there could be. Here are the different locations or types of locations there could be. Make up whatever you want. And not like, I didn't realize there was any story at all or any world building in Dungeons and Dragons, because I thought it was just mostly, I'm going to make a campaign. You're going to go into this village. Inside the village is a guy named Jim. Jim doesn't like you. Go play.
That 99% of what I've played has been that. But we're currently in 5th edition, kind of in like a 5.5. And then they're transitioning to like a whole new thing in the next couple of years. But I mean, the other editions go back to obviously like 1st edition was Gary Gygax back in, I don't know. I don't know my D&D history. 1902 maybe.
It was the late 70s.
And then there's 3rd edition, then there's 3.5, which split into another game because people like 3.5 so much. that they didn't move on when it went to 4th edition. 4th edition is apparently just a lot more math and a lot more like chunky system that's not, depending on who you are, is not as fun. And then 5th edition made it like, what's the, it's a video game series that I'm trying to think of where they slimmed everything down. And like Mass Effect 2 versus Mass Effect 1. A lot of games do this where like, Skyrim. Skyrim is the biggest, best example of like, if you go from Oblivion to Skyrim, you feel like if you loved Oblivion, the initial playthrough of Skyrim kind of feels like you've lost half the game in terms of like, they've streamlined a lot. There's a lot of quality of life upgrades. So 5th edition comes out and...
Monster Hunter did the same thing with between generations, which was sort of the very last of the old school.
Well, that makes sense because you couldn't put CDs anymore. Right. Because no one had CDs, so you had to figure out a different way to get the monsters.
Again, you're thinking of Monster Rancher. It's fine.
I don't...
Okay. It's okay. No, but like in original Monster Hunter, you had to like go on a quest with a pickaxe, a fishing pole, a bug catching equipment, a spit to like roast food and stuff if you wanted to eat. And so you would like go out with a very limited bag inventory, and you already had to fill it up with a bunch of junk, you know. But now there's like, no, you don't need all that stuff, and it got very much streamlined. That was them going like, hey, when's if we tried to make this popular? And they're like, hey, it worked.
Yeah, and that's 5th edition has been like, I think the most popular for all of the editions, and it's probably currently like the most popular tabletop game. Stranger Things obviously helped. This movie, there's been a couple other things. There's some like really high level podcasts out there that do like it's professional voice actors playing the game. And one of which, Critical Role, has turned into an Amazon TV show now that's got 1 season out or 2 seasons out, and I think they've already been greenlit for the next season.
That's a rarity for Prime TV shows.
Yeah.
I feel like Prime, like Amazon, always forgets it has a video department. You know, a channel, because they're always like, oh yeah, like what were we doing with that? Well, no one called us, so we stopped making it. Oh,
they certainly forget to pay the guy that designs the app because, well, it did change recently, and it's maybe slightly better, but it has always been the absolute worst UI for a streaming service on the planet. I'd rather use Tubi again.
Yes, for Prime on my television, for whatever reason, I have to actually go and exit the app in order to go, because normally you can just kind of click on Netflix, like go like source Netflix, and it'll switch to Netflix. If I do that after Prime has been opened, Prime will take over, and like I'll switch back to Prime all of a sudden.
I'm afraid I can't do that, Will.
And I'm just like, what the hell, man? And then I'll like click, and then so you have to like, I hate Prime. I hate it. Jack will be like, I want to watch Clifford the Big Red Dog. I'm like, oh, Clifford died. We can't watch that one.
Jesus. Oh, man.
Will, how about you take us through the plot of the movie?
Okay. Do I have to? No, I'll do it. I think I can do it. Phil, help me out. Okay, so the plot of the movie is basically there is this band of thieves headed by Chris Pine's character.
Edgin Darvis.
Yes. Everyone's name is almost a regular name. But then they like gave up halfway through.
Let me tell you, the freaking names in this are gold.
Yeah. So we start and he's in jail with his friend what's
Holga Kilgore.
Holga, which is not Helga.
But it's close.
It's Holga. And they are basically trying to get what's the word when you leave early? Good behavior? Parole.
Parole.
Yes, they're trying to get paroled. But they break out, and basically they tell the story that what had happened is they were thieves stealing stuff, and they got caught when Chris Pine's character tried to steal a resurrection stone that was going to bring his wife back. So he is thrown into jail with Holga, and so they've been gone for a while. So when he comes back, he tries to connect with his daughter, but his daughter is with Well, before I go up too much further, just so everyone knows, we've left the egg salad sandwich on the dashboard in the car in the morning, and is now the afternoon. So we are in spoiler town.
I mean, you might still be able to eat it. Is it warm out?
Yeah, it's a very, very hot day, and you have a black interior car.
How hungry am I?
Well, you eating it, and your hunger level doesn't really matter about the spoiled level, because you can eat something spoiled. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess that's true. I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna eat it. What do I have to roll?
What do you have to roll? You have to roll just a small pony. Do you have a small pony? Anyways,
I don't.
So yeah, if you haven't seen the movie, I recommend going and seeing it. It's a lot of fun. Or pause this, wait 6 months for it to come on video on demand, watch it, and then hit play on this. Anyways, so they go back and they discover that one of their friends, who's played by Hugh Grant, has like betrayed them basically, and has turned, and he's the one who basically got them caught. So Chris Pine and so Edgin and Holga now have to figure out how to get this resurrection stone and get Chris Pine's character's daughter back, who is in the clutches of Hugh Grant. And that's and so it's like getting the band back together and like, let's go and do this heist so I can win my daughter back and we can get this resurrection stone and I can bring my wife back and do what I meant to do. There's a lot of other things. They meet a sorcerer along the way, Simon, that's a normal name, who's played by Justice Smith, who is like a not a very good sorcerer. And then they meet a druid named Doric, which is not Derek, played by Sophia Lillis. And she joins up because she doesn't like Forge, who is Hugh Grant's character.
Who was a member of the party.
Yeah, he was the guy who betrayed them.
Yes, and is now Lord of...
Wintergale?
Is it Neverwinter?
Neverwinter? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so funny. Yeah. Some of the names in this are like really like complex made up words, and then it's like he's Lord Neverwinter. I'm like, okay. that's where we got. Okay, you didn't try? That's fine. We're fine.
Movies with my best friend.
Okay, where was I? I don't remember.
So we had gotten to the point where they escaped. They found out that Forge... Well, we didn't really go into it. Forge is Lord of Neverwinter. He's now... He betrayed them. He's a real dick. Yeah, and they knew he was a real dick. But what he's done that has sort of leveled up his dickishness is he has told Kira, Chris Pine's character's daughter...
who's also kind of Holga's daughter as well, because they
adopted. Yeah, they raised her.
Yeah, because Chris Pine's character's story is that his wife died when Kira, his daughter, was very young, and it was more or less his fault because he wasn't there, and it was one of the Red Wizards. Well, I wouldn't say it was necessarily his fault, but he certainly feels that way.
He feels like it was. Yeah.
Anyways, and so while, Kira was still baby, he met Holga, and so they basically became brother and sister best friends, and she helped raise Kira. So
yeah,
which is an important part of the whole dynamic of the characters. Yeah.
Yeah. And they've taken Kira on a lot of their thieving adventures, so she's been a part of the crew.
Right.
So like they're very close. And then what Forge has done is told her that they were too greedy, and that's why they got sent to prison, and that's why he's abandoned her, essentially, his own daughter.
Because he goes to steal this resurrection stone to bring, her mom back, his wife, but he doesn't tell her that's what he's doing. So Forge, because he doesn't say that, uses that opportunity to say he was just stealing to make money and he didn't want you to be there, et cetera, et cetera.
He says instead of a stone of resurrection, it's a stone of riches. So he did the whole thing for money.
Right.
And so
he's poisoned her. He's here now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's poisoned Kira against her dad. So Forge is a real dick. We know that. He's also, we see Sophina, the wizard that took them on that that heist that got him arrested. She's there in the keep. So like she's still a part of this.
Right. So she basically set them up to be, right? They got set up. Yeah. Anyways, we're confusing the hell out of it by sort of double backing all of this stuff, but in the movie it's very clear. It's easy to follow.
Yes, there's nothing about this movie that is not followable, and there's nothing about this movie that is not predictable. Not in a bad way. It's just it's definitely a predictable movie. It was supposed to be. It was going to be all along.
Yeah.
So they decide they're going to rob Forge of all of his riches. Being Lord of Neverwinter, he's got a lot. Also, they're going to grab the stone because he still supposedly has it. And then they're going to grab Kira and they're going to get out of there. And it's going to be a sweet heist. And so they're like, who do we need to get? And they're like, let's go get the sorcerer that we used on the last job. And Holga's like, he's actually really terrible. And Chris Pine's character, Edgin, is like, no, he's fine. He can do this. So they go to find the sorcerer. And he is not great. He is currently tricking people out of their money with crappy magic shows. Now, he's doing a crappy magic show in front of them while stealing from them using another spell. So he's actually not...
Well, so
there's evidence that he can do the magic. He's just doing really... He's like making smells come out of nowhere. Which is prestidigitation. He in the game.
His character had a really good arc, I felt, because like his whole thing is he's a bad sorceress, but throughout the series of the film, he sort of like Chris Pine is always saying to him, actually, you can do this. I've seen you do this. I know you can do this. And he keeps doubting himself. And eventually, like, his whole thing is that he's just sort of like, all he needed to do was just believe in himself, you know? Did you put your hand up? Or you?
Yeah, I put my hand up because it's like when in school when like
I know
how the concept of raising your hand.
Yes. Phil, do you have
so in the game, and we talked about this at the beginning of the episode. In the game of D&D, you've got sorcerers and wizards. They're both like you would call them full casters. All they do is spells. You really don't fight with like melee weapons or anything. There's like subclasses that can kind of do that, but in general, it's full magic all the time. The difference is sorcerers don't learn the magic. They just are innately talented at magic. Wizards have to learn it. So they have to do all the book stuff and all the reading and memorizing spells and learning spells. Sorcerers can cast less, but they can do it more powerfully, generally. And they can do weird stuff with the magic. So it was perfect in this movie that our sorcerer was really unsure of himself, and that's why he was not a very good sorcerer. But his arc over the course of the movie, he becomes sure of himself, and that's why he's like, it's not like believe in yourself, which is fine. It's a fine plot line. It's in 90% of movies. But like in this, that even that ties into the game and the mechanics of the game, where like being a sorcerer, it just is who you are. To like be good at magic, and if you are self-doubting, you're not going to be. You're going to have issues.
I mean, but it's a good moral for most things, though. Like, I mean, obviously, you know, I'm not necessarily saying that like, oh, you can do whatever you want as long as you believe in yourself.
You can fly.
It's more like have confidence in yourself, you know. And you can you're much more likely to succeed if you think you're going to. Than if you're not. And that's just like true. You know? But so I liked his arc. I thought his arc was really, really, he was a fun character to kind of go along with the story. And then, so the next character we were introduced to is Doric, right? Who is their druid?
Yes. So they realize they need a druid because they have to get into the vault and they need to turn into an animal to get into the vault or to get past guards at some point in the heist. So they're like, we need to find a druid, and Simon knows a druid because he tried to romance a druid unsuccessfully. So they go find Doric.
Who's not a human.
No, she is a tiefling.
Yeah, I did not figure that out, and it wasn't until about halfway through the movie that she has very visible horns. But
Yes.
halfway through the movie, I was like, oh, and she's got a tail.
Yes, they don't show the tail enough. They also, that is like a big gripe of the movie, and like they've got at the beginning of this movie, they have a dragonborn, which is a dragon humanoid. They have a bird person.
Right, yeah.
And then for the tiefling, who historically is a red-skinned, like pointy-eared half devil with horns and a tail, they decided to just make her look like a human with horns. So that was a little bit annoying, because it also kind of made that a little bit confusing, that like, okay, is she just a human with horns? What's going on here? But she's a tiefling, and that's like a whole in the game. Everyone's super racist against tieflings. Like that's a thing in the setting, is that people don't generally like tieflings. They are half devil or half demon, so like, I guess that not makes sense. But like, you see, anyways, so they go to find Doric.
Yeah, and and I want to say that her character, I think, felt the least. Her character was the least developed by far. Kind of felt like she was there, she was fun, but she sort of like, her whole thing was like, I don't really like humans, and that never really changed.
It felt like somebody like you were playing D&D with three of your friends. Or for like you and three of your friends, the DM and three characters. And then one of those friends had a friend that they wanted to invite. So they invited them partway through the campaign. So she's got a backstory of like, she was abandoned as a kid because she's a tiefling. She found this like group of nature granola people in the woods and has been helping protect the woods. That to me feels like the backstory of a character it feels like a backstory of a character. I don't know what I'm saying. From anything, but like, that just feels like somebody would come up with that. They'd show up at the table and they'd join the game. So like, there were a ton of things like that in the movie where I was like, well, this doesn't really make sense. And like, she should get a bigger story. But also it kind of just feels like we added a player. I don't know. There were a lot of those like sort of meta jokes that weren't really meta jokes and maybe weren't even intended to be that.
That's funny.
But they felt like that to me.
Yeah, she was a character who was bad at playing D&D, is what you're saying?
No, just like she's just like a new friend who joined.
Yeah. Who doesn't understand how to play along quite yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, because she doesn't say much either. And she does cool stuff, but she doesn't really have a lot to say. And, I don't know. It's a weird, it's not really a complaint. It was just sort of like,
Well, we're talking about this today, where we felt like everyone's character development, their arc, was pretty well done, except for hers.
Yeah.
But I like her character. I mean, one of the best set pieces of the film is when she goes in to spy on the, in the castle.
Yeah.
And she turns into a bunch of things, and then she does turn into a deer.
Yeah, which was funny because she says like, "Yeah, you're gonna sneak in as a deer," and it's like, "Why a deer? Deer wouldn't work." There's a lot of stuff like that in this movie where there's a lot of like really funny jokes. It's like someone says something and then smash cut to them doing the thing they said they would never do or whatever,
Yeah.
But that sequence where she's being chased and it's not Sophia, who's the evil, who's our main villain mostly. She like when she sees her and is like, "Wah!" and like screams. I was like genuinely freaked out and kind of like stressed out for this character. Like we just met this. I'm like, we just met this character and she's on the posters, but she might die right here. I don't know.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So that part was definitely very fun.
How did you feel, Phil, about our paladin?
Zank?
Oh man.
Zink?
Was by far the best part of the movie for me for so many reasons.
Okay. I liked him a lot. He was like if you're like talking about people playing the game, he's the one friend who is taking the game way too seriously. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, which you knew because that friend picked a paladin.
Right. Yes.
This is the most textbook version of a paladin I've ever seen. Obviously, it's literally a textbook version because they wrote it to be that. But like paladins in the game are very cool in terms of like they do a shit ton of damage. They're really good at fighting. They've got cool magic spells. They do some healing. They do a lot of like a decent amount of magic. They do a lot of like melee fighting, but they're always very strict on role play.
Yeah.
Like how you play the character, because generally, what do they call it? Like lawful boring is the way that people like to put it. Is that like playing a good paladin, and up until I think 5th edition, they only had good paladins. You had to play it a certain way because mechanically, if you had a DM that was doing it mechanically, you would lose your powers if you did a bad thing.
Right.
They're always Boy Scouts.
Yeah.
And they always kind of they're fun to play, but they're hard to role play where you don't just step all over everyone else. And what I loved in this is that he comes in out of nowhere, seemingly out of nowhere. He's immensely powerful. He's so much better than the other characters at everything adventure-y.
Yeah, yeah.
He also does not want to be with them, which feels exactly accurate for a paladin.
Yeah, I do. There's like one scene where Chris Pine's character just says like, "You're really good at all this stuff, but you're really hard to talk to. It's hard to talk to you.
Yeah.
You're just weird and off-putting."
So like it just felt like a really fun meta thing, just on the layer of paladins in the game. The other thing that people have pointed out with this character is that it feels a lot like a Dungeon Master player character, a DMPC, which is essentially often it will get put into the game when the players either don't have enough people, so you can't really balance the campaign correctly, or they can't figure something out to save their lives. So you add in a random character that is just like insanely better than the other characters, and then they just leave. They just walk in a literal straight line.
That was also the other great
out
part.
of the scene.
When he's and there he goes. Oh, he's coming up on a rock. What's he gonna do? You gonna go around it? Oh, nope, right over it. Okay.
Right over it. It was just, his character was just such a good, like, it was like the perfect embodiment of what this movie did for me, which was just like, this felt like I was at the table playing the game with other people playing the game, and we were playing this movie, was how I felt when I was watching it.
So can we talk about my favorite part of the whole movie?
Sure.
Which was the chubby dragon.
Oh, you mean the actual canon chubby dragon? That's a real thing in the
I know, I looked him up
setting.
afterwards.
It's fantastic.
But like at one point they're in like this, I don't know, Mines of Moria looking place.
It's the Underdark.
What?
It's the Underdark.
The Underdark, which Skyrim totally ripped off, right?
Yeah. Just about everything in Skyrim is from either Nordic mythology or this.
Yeah. Anyways, and a dragon appears, and the dragon is just like this super fat roly-poly dragon who at like one point it like trips and falls and is chasing them just by rolling.
Yeah.
It's like kind of got like a smile on its face the whole time, and it like literally made me laugh out loud in the theater watching it. It was fun. I loved that. I was like, oh man. Yeah.
Something I liked is that Bradley Cooper just kind of shows up as a halfling.
Yeah.
But it is not a joke. He is not a joke character. He is a legit part of Holga's like character arc.
Yeah, so Holga, the whole movie is like a barbarian type, like super tough lady, and you find out that she was kicked out of her village because she fell in love with somebody who wasn't of her species, right? That's her story. And then, while she was in jail, he divorced her basically, and so she finally confronts him. And the fun reveal is that he's a halfling, so he's very, very small. And then the second fun reveal is the meta idea because it's Bradley Cooper.
It's Bradley Cooper, and I don't think anyone knew he was in the movie.
No, I had no idea.
No.
Which is great.
Yeah.
And he's this like gentle gardener guy.
Yeah, he's like a really gentle sort of like, house husband, to use a term that I don't know if I should. But
yeah.
But
who has also remarried another very strong big lady.
And I like that them meeting him had served another purpose, because he's like, oh, take my walking stick.
Yeah.
And it's not a walking stick. It is a portal gun.
Hither, right? I loved that was its name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which feels like so like in our campaign, my brother has told me many times, there are so many things that we have forgotten that we have that would have gotten us out of situations.
Yeah.
So that rang very true to me, that they've just been carrying around this walking stick that happens to also be a really powerful magic item.
Yeah.
And they just either forgot or didn't know. In the movie, they didn't know, but like, yeah, no, it's great.
So the sorcerer can't use the helm unless he's able to like connect with it.
He has to attune to it.
He has to attune to it, and he can't because his like ancestor is like torturing him about how he's not good enough, which is just him.
Yeah. And so that I thought was, I love that sort of self-doubt stuff. And, I thought that character arc was really fun.
Yeah.
How obvious was it to you guys that Sophina was going to release the red blights during, like, how quickly did you figure out that was her plan?
Because pretty much as soon as they tell you that was a thing.
Well, yeah, the second I learned that was a thing, I was like, okay, this is coming back. Oh, they're putting the games on. Well, that's when she's going to do that. That's for sure. That's what I would do.
She's going to turn all of them into undead.
Yeah. And she failed.
Yeah. Poor Sophina.
No.
So do they actually use the helm for anything? Because they find out that he can't attune to it, so they use the hither thither to get into the vault, and then that's empty.
Well, so what they find out is that they need the helmet to get into the vault, right? Mm-hmm. But Simon's not. He can't work it. So they come up with a different plan. The plan B, like that's the whole thing with Chris Pine's character. He's the plan guy, so he comes up with different plans. And I do like that. Like he was like, Plan C is Plan A again. It's like, why can't we just call it Plan A? It's because Plan A is burnt. It's no good. We're gonna call it C now. And then and if that doesn't work, we're gonna go to Plan D, which is just Plan B. Why can't we call it Plan B? Again, that one's burnt. So it's C and D, and it's just. I just loved that. But yeah, no. So the whole plan was to get into the vault using the helmet. It's not going to work with the helmet, so they do this whole thing with a painting and the hither thither portal.
It's such a cool heist.
Yeah, it is.
So,
but then the problem happens is that painting falls down onto the stone, so you can't go through a portal if it's going right to the stone. So Doric is trying to turn into a worm and sneak through, but she can't get a big enough hole. Meanwhile, what's his name? Simon figures out how to attune. So he does use the helmet to get into the vault. But when he gets inside with Holga, nothing's in there. And at the same time, Doric also is able to get into what she thinks is the same vault, but it turns out it's the docks because Forge has taken all of the gold that the royal people have come to bet on the games, and he's stolen it and taken it for himself because, again, he's a con man, and that's what he does.
Classic.
Yeah. So yeah, they do use it, but the plan, like most heist movies, gets foiled many, 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 many times,
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the whole thing with heist movies. It's like, it's going to be this way. But it's not this way. Oh, it's going to be this way. Yeah. But I loved all that portal gun stuff. It was very fun.
Yeah. That was a super cool way to do the heist with like adding in magic.
Yeah. I guess I totally missed, or either I forgot, or I wasn't paying enough attention. In the prologue, we learned, not prologue, but the flashback rather, we learned that the reason why they were stealing in the first place, where they get caught and go to jail, is because Sophia has hired them. Sophina, rather. Her name should be Sophia. That's frustrating.
No, you got to think regular name, add letters.
Okay, but then it's just Simon. Why isn't he Simog or something like that? Or Slyman or something.
Slyman. I don't like that one.
Anywho, so yeah, she hired them, and I that's where I think earlier I was like, wait, why did they do that? Why was she hiring them? But to get the horn,
yeah, to get the horn.
Sense.
I will say they didn't. I feel like they didn't do a great job of linking those two things, and
I feel like to their defense, they had so. I'm sure that there was a draft of this where they were reading it out loud to each other and just this is way too much. We put way too much. We just gotta get to the actual story. This is taking hours. We need to get rid of this.
I think probably one of the best things about this movie is that it is so successful in making this that anyone can watch this and not feel alienated by it, but still make it play by the rules.
Yeah, that.
I feel like it's a very thin line because I could easily have seen this movie be a huge turd, very quickly.
Yeah.
And
definitely.
Well, and
somehow they did it.
I think that is the lesson that has been learned from the MCU. And again, here I am bringing up the MCU again. But
this is a shock to me.
Yeah, but literally the lesson that was learned was it is possible to make something that makes both the first thing that they have to always try to do is let's not insult the main base. Because comic book movies for so long were hey, I'm going to ignore what the fans want and try and shove this idea, this IP into something I think everyone will love, And I think that's the lesson we learned from the MCU is no, or even hell, was The Dark Knight was probably before that too. So around that time in the superhero world was hey, let's make the fans happy first and build from there. And it's this, let's not piss off. And I feel like that was the case with this one, where they're you got two guys who love Dungeons and Dragons writing it, and it's let's build on this foundation and make it into and then make it a fun movie. Let's never deviate away from the Dungeons and Dragons fan base, because that's the only way we can keep something like this going, They did such a good job applying the ideas and some of the mechanics of D&D that would make sense to be adapted into a movie. And they did a great job of ignoring the ones that would have ruined this movie. You only get a certain number of spell slots. So right.
Realistically, we'd see them sleeping for half the movie because they'd need to rest for 8 hours after every encounter, basically.
Right.
The other thing they ignored was druids can only wild shape a certain number of times a day.
Yeah.
And you can't do it from one animal into the other animal. You go back to being human, or back to base form, then you go. So they ignored a ton of dumb mechanics that would make no sense. They're fine in the game. They don't make sense in a movie though. So they ignored a ton of those mechanics while still keeping to the spirit of the game.
Right.
And they still got a lot of the mechanics in there to the point where D&D people are satisfied with this.
Right. I mean, but it's the same reason why when you see a biopic or any sort of movie about someone's life, you're not all right, and he's going to sleep. We're going to watch him sleep now. It's why would we watch this? Let's skip over this crap,
So the ending of the movie, Holga has been injured by the same blade or similar blade, a same type of blade that Edgin's wife was killed by. So she's dying, and there's no magic that can revive you or resurrect you from this blade. So she's dead forever. She's going to die forever.
Which is very convenient for the plot of the movie.
Very convenient for the plot of the movie.
I just happen to have the knife that can't heal you.
Yeah. I mean, it's a red wizard knife. I don't know. So Chris Pine's character has this moment of like, I have this resurrection stone, but I was going to use it on my wife. But then he realizes that his daughter never knew her mom, but has known Holga as a mom her whole life. So he uses the resurrection stone on Holga, and it's like, man, whew.
Yeah.
A movie that is so goofy and dumb and silly should not tug at your heartstrings so hard at the end of it.
Right.
But I love that it does. Because you get invested in the characters, as silly as they are, and as like goofy as the whole movie is, you're still invested at the end of the movie, which is, again, one thing that worked really well for this movie is that you love these characters by the end, that the fight with Safina is just like a cool treat.
Yeah.
It's not the point of the movie. It's just you got a cool treat out of it.
I think
that's the post-credits scene.
I would watch any movie with Chris Pine and Michelle Rodriguez as just buddy cops, or any sort of buddy comedy.
Buddy dungeons.
I think they worked well together. I liked both of their characters a lot.
Yeah, it was super fun.
So I think we've talked about the movie quite enough. Unless there's any like last minute things.
I'd keep going, but
other than I hope that they keep this going. And right now my personal hope is that they like the next set of movies take place in the same world, but like involve completely different characters.
Yeah, that would be cool.
That would be fun just to see a different slice of life. And also like I felt like we got a pretty good emotional arc for all of these characters. So like, we don't really need more of that necessarily, but it would be fun.
So, Phil, I think I know the answer is, but if you were to give this movie a grade, what would it be?
Okay, it's going to be an A+, because you said grade. But if you want a number, I'm going to give it a 5 out of 5. Really, really loved this movie, but I'm a little upset that there were no clerics in the movie, because I'm a cleric guy, and it's upsetting to not see me represented.
Yeah, it's not up for
in
representation.
This movie.
Yeah, I get that.
They mention a cleric, but in the sense that a cleric couldn't help them in this situation, and I just think that's really BS.
Yeah.
Anyways, Will.
Yes.
What would you rate this movie from A to 4?
Mm-hmm. A to 4, huh?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to ignore that because I don't have a funny thing to say to it. I'm going to give this movie 5 Paul Scheer cameos as a painting of a royal out of 5. Because did you notice that was him?
Oh.
In the painting that they cut out to use for the portal gun, I was like, that's Paul Scheer. But I didn't say anything because I was like, maybe he's going to show up later. And then he never did. And I looked in the trivia, and they made it look like Paul Scheer.
That's awesome.
So, anyways.
Okay. I'm gonna give this one a perfect 5 out of 5. Bradley Cooper, the short king we never knew we wanted.
Nice.
Yes.
All right. So, welcome to the 5 out of 5 club.
Adventuring party.
Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves. So next episode, it is my turn to pick a movie, correct?
Yes.
So I want to watch the Super Mario Brothers movie. And
the new one?
No.
Yeah.
I want to watch the one from 1993 starring
It's
Bob
me,
Hoskins.
Chris Pratt.
Nope. It's a me, Bob Hoskins. And what's his name?
John
Leguizamo. Because I have fond memories of this movie being a hot garbage mess. But I also really like so this is one of those movies where it's so clear that the people who made it didn't know who Mario was and just kind of got a vague idea of what it was supposed to be. And that to me is just a wonderful, I don't feel like you can go through life like that anymore, So to me, it's going to make me nostalgic for a time where you can just be white and trying your best and still succeed,
Wow.
Except for this movie failed, so that's not true.
Yeah. I really like the juxtaposition of like a movie that was created with fan love.
Yes, yeah.
And a movie that was created without it.
So, but there is a small chance that we can't do this movie because it is not available anywhere. I have a DVD of it, so me and Craig will watch my DVD. Phil is the big question mark, but hopefully
I'm going to find a way to do it.
Hopefully we can figure it out.
I will buy a DVD player, and I will buy a DVD of it.
But I've been meaning to watch this movie with you guys for a while, and then the new Super Mario movie came out and reminded me of that. So, yeah.
I will say, I have heard that the new Super Mario movie is fine.
Yeah. I knew it was
apparently
fine.
Jack Black is a treat in it.
I mean,
which, that guy just keeps getting cooler.
Yeah. Yes.
If you have a moment, just go on YouTube and search
the Peaches.
Peaches thinks it's so funny.
Yeah.
I took Peter and Jonas last Saturday to see it. We got 10 minutes in, and the whole theater lost power. So, we're gonna go back. I've never
experienced that before.
I hadn't either, and somebody.
I didn't even realize it could happen.
Oh yeah. I bought the tickets again because they gave us a voucher, so I had to go to the theater to buy the tickets for Friday, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we just got our IMAX theaters back up and running after 5 days." I'm like, "Oh, that's not good."
Oh, rough.
So I don't know. I'm like, "Do you guys ever figure out what happened?" No. I'm like, "Oh, yikes!"
Did all the IMAX film go bad?
I don't know.
It's probably spoiled. You know, you got to keep your IMAX cool.
Yeah.
Just like an egg salad sandwich.
Yeah. Don't leave it on the dash,
Mm-hmm.
Movies with my best friend.
Thank you for liking and subscribing to the podcast. We're on Instagram and Facebook. If you want to tell us which is your favorite Super Mario Brothers movie, obviously one that stars Bob Hoskins.
Mm-hmm. If you like what you heard, no, sorry. This episode was brought to you by Brad Barr. Screwed that up. Yeah. If you are interested in helping support us and hear your name shouted out on the podcast, consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/mumbleandrug.
If you like what you heard, consider leaving a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, or send a scroll with a pigeon. That feels D&D-ish. That's all for this episode. I'm Phil Kessel.
I'm Will Chodas.
And I'm Craig Norland.
Don't watch any more movies. Spend the rest of your waking life emailing Will at mumbleandtrug.com, maybe, and tell him that you want to hear us play a tabletop game on the air live.
Oh, I'm going to be busy that day.
Dang it. Never mind.
Yeah.
Go watch movies.
I gotta go eat an egg salad sandwich in my car.
Egg salad's really good.
It is really good.
Movies with My Best Friend Phil is brought to you by Mumble and Shrug Productions, the creators of very serious video production for very serious clients. This episode was recorded and edited by Will Chodas. Research provided by Phil Kessel and Craig Norland. Cover art was designed by Will Chodas, and Phil Kessel provided likeness. For more content like this, visit mumbleandtrug.com.
Feeling we're not in Brooklyn no more.
Luigi! Daisy! You better not hurt us!
They're brothers. They're plumbers.
Oh no! Mario! Luigi!
They're on the trail of a kidnapped princess and a mystical meteorite.
It's incredible!
That gives anyone who possesses it the power to rule the universe.
Get me the rock! Come and get it, lizard breath!
Now, they must rescue the princess.
Luigi!
Alien species escaping.
And make it safely back.
Later, alligator.
To our world.
Are you alright?
Before time runs out.
Shoot him! Look out, Mario!
Super Mario Brothers. This ain't no game.
Brought to you by Mumble and Shrug Productions.